Yo! Falcon and the Winter Soldier is so hype, and it's almost a damn shame that we only get one episode a week. But hey, at least it gives me some time to talk about where we are and even do some theory crafting. So let's get to it. Alright, before we get into the theories for this, I do want to talk about some of the things that we've seen in episode 3. So let's start with John Walker's Captain America and how we are starting to see more of his hardcore personality. The episode opens with US Agent rolling up to the safe house we seen in the Flag Smashers at in episode 2. The long story short is that the man Walker was interrogating spit in his face, in which Walker shoves him into the wall and yells, "Do you know who I am?" And I love this, because it's showing us just how different he is from Steve and Sam. It's as if he expects a certain level of respect because he has the shield and mantle of Captain America. And to us, we've seen what Steve endured, and as a result, he kind of earned that level of respect. And sure, he wouldn't get this from everyone he came across, but to someone that watched his career from the time he came out of the ice, Walker must think that this comes with the shield. Another interesting thing is how he acts when they are at the prison in Germany, stating that as long as they get the job done, they won't get any heat as to how they do it. And I think this is certainly not in line with how Steve would have seen things, considering that he didn't really answer to anyone after his resurgence into modern society, but even so, he would want to do things right. Now, whether or not that would lead to a jailbreak of the guy that single-handedly divided the Avengers and framed Bucky for it, that's still kind of up in the air, right? But I do believe that Steve would care about how the job would get done. Now, speaking of the jailbreak, I am curious as to what the consequences are and how Buck and Sam will skirt around those consequences. So let's just jump right into my theory section of the video. Now, it's been a bit of a struggle to theory craft on this one, if I'm to be honest, but I think I've narrowed it down to a few things. The consequences of Sam's and Bucky's prison break, Sam taking the mantle and shield of Captain America, and who the hell the power broker is, in addition to some other stuff. So let's start with freeing Zemo. I just gotta say it, but Zemo is one of the best parts of the episode. But what I'm looking forward to is the consequences of breaking him out of prison, and how our titular team will skirt around those consequences. The way I see this playing out is that US Agent will use this to force Buck and Sam to work with him, or threaten turning them in, essentially blackmailing them. And we know that Sam and John Walker are on a collision course regarding the mantles, so this would be a good way to create more tension between the two leading up to that point. And I think we can all agree that Zemo is going to escape or double-cross them, probably in the next episode, that's my guess, but if not, I think it's a certainty for sure. Now maybe they can skirt around the prison break, but I doubt they can skirt around letting Zemo go. Now enter Wakanda. Given Bucky's history and the fact that Zemo is responsible for T'Chaka's death, they could potentially work out a deal to protect them. Maybe it's like Germany wants him for the murder in their country, but Wakanda has a better justification for taking him due to the fact that he killed their former king. I can't be too sure on the specifics, but maybe since T'Challa and Everett Ross are in pretty good standing with each other, perhaps they can work something out. Maybe spinning it as a diplomacy tactic, seeing as Wakanda is poised to show themselves their true selves to the world. And also, maybe another side theory to that is, maybe like somebody turns him into the US government, and in turn that allows him to join the Thunderbolts team. I guess it doesn't really matter who turns him in. Maybe they get around the consequences by saying he just broke out and Sam and Bucky turn him into the US government on their own, and that kind of gets around it. Or maybe they kind of do it as a team with John Walker, but they're a little resentful about it. I don't know, there's some cool ways it could go. I kind of am leaning towards the Wakanda side of it because we kind of have some Easter eggs for that, but I'm also kind of hoping that it goes the way that I just kind of talked about there, because that gives us the opportunity for him to easily set up the Thunderbolts team, right? Moving on. So how does Sam get the shield and don the mantle of Captain America? We're going to start by piggybacking off the idea of John Walker essentially blackmailing them to find the Flag Smashers, and we can start to see how differently the two operate. And perhaps US Agent starts to make some bad calls, and as a result, things start to get messy. And this leads to Walker taking a much more aggressive approach to dealing with the Flag Smashers, and to Sam, this would appear as kind of like a smear on the mantle and ideals that Steve established as his time as Captain America. And this forces Sam and Bucky to strip the mantle and shield from Walker. Now, clearly, Sam would still be hesitant to even don the mantle and shield, but he knows that someone has to carry the torch the right way, holding up the ideals that Steve Rogers established and protected. In addition, Sam would have to make it his own, kind of folding those old ideals into his own. It has a complicated past for sure, and Sam knows this. We've seen that. But he will come to realize that the good it represents needs to persist in a post-blip landscape. So now, let's focus on the Power Broker and delve into why the US government is even interested in the Flag Smashers. But let's start with the Power Broker and who the hell they are. I know that there's some speculation that it could maybe be Thunderbolt Ross. I've seen that some places. Or it's Sharon Carter. That one's pretty popular, but I would have to respectfully disagree. Ross, likely still holding considerable power in the US government, surely can't risk creating superpowered individuals outside of the country. And honestly, it goes against a lot of what he's been working towards so far. And maybe you could spin it as like he has the serum to create American super soldiers, but needs a justification for it. So he's maybe got a supply chain outside of the country to show that other countries have it. And maybe that would work, but I just don't really know if I like that altogether, right? But let's keep going. Sharon seems likely, but I would wager that she is under the Power Broker's thumb. Don't you think it's kind of crazy that she operates out of Hightown and Madripoor despite being a former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the CIA, right? That seems kind of crazy. But perhaps the broker uses her for her past connections and intel regarding old allies, maybe to establish some kind of supply chain to different governments, and in return she gets to live safely in Hightown in addition to running an art gallery that's got to be profitable, right? And maybe it's a bit crazy, but I'm a lore fanatic, so I would like to see Power Broker proper Carl Malice over existing characters. Besides, Ross has got to be ready to put the Thunderbolts together soon, and I kind of already talked about that, but he can't really do that if he goes to jail over being the Power Broker, right? The last thing I want to touch on is why the government initially got involved with the Smashers, and how they even knew that Sam and Buck were already investigating it. Our first run-in with the Flag Smashers, they are moving stolen supplies they acquired from GRC. I guess our second run-in, right? But that may be the reason why the US government decided to take interest in it, and it certainly is a good front for getting involved, but I think it's a little bit deeper than that. I think this hits at the fact that the government has been tracking Sam with his tech, and if they can track Stark tech, then they can surely intercept Sam's communications with Torres. I would wager that someone seen the super soldiers in Torres' video and immediately took interest. Knowing that Sam would surely look into it, they were ready to send in US agent. Now, who in the US government would be interested in super soldiers, you might ask? Thunderbolt mother effing Ross, that's who. And if true, we could certainly be poised for a Thunderbolts team in the future. And additionally, this could show another reason why John Walker isn't fit for the S.H.I.E.L.D. He's a puppet, following orders to meet an agenda, and that's something that Steve would never do. So there you have it, my obligatory Disney Plus theory and discussion video. Do you like this content? If so, feel free to like and subscribe. And what are your theories, now that we are halfway through the series on Disney Plus? Let me know in the comments below. And if you don't know, your boy streams every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Yeah, it's a lot. So be sure to drop in and hang out. I'd love to have you. This has been Al Pal. Be kind, be safe, spread the love, and we'll see you next time. Peace.